Thousands of women as young as 35 are being denied IVF treatment on the NHS because of the area they live in.
Well, despite official recommendations that women should be eligible for IVF up to the age of 42, 1 in 9 clinical commissioning groups in England are imposing their own restrictions on fertility treatment. And
it's having a devastating effect on couples all around the country, including our next guests, Steph and Tom, who join us now alongside fertility expert Dr Larisa Corda. Welcome to both of you. And we'll hear your story in a moment. But Larisa, first of all, just explain why your postcode is having an impact on fertility.
Well, there really shouldn't be an explanation behind it, because essentially this is a huge problem. 1 in 6 couples has an issue with getting pregnant, as we've seen through all the work we've done before with this morning. And NICE, which is the National Institution for the Guidelines which are released, has said that actually all couples under the age of 40 should be entitled to 3 rounds of treatment, and between 40 and 42 to 1 round.
Right.
However, the local clinical commissioning groups do have the ability to make up their own rules and regulations, and that's exactly what they do. So depending on where you live can determine actually the sort of access that you get. And in most cases, actually, the access just isn't good enough. So less than 15% of the clinical commissioning groups are actually following the national guidance.
So, and this is not just down to age. Some of the CCGs have other rules restricting couples. Say they can have 1 round of IVF. They must not have other children from any previous relationships. And some CCGs don't offer it at all.
Absolutely. So it's incredible. It's completely arbitrary. There is no evidence behind it at all. So there are strict age cut-offs which are used, body mass index cut-offs, so depending on your weight, if you smoke or not, if you've had children from a previous relationship. And it can be as bad as discriminating against you if you've been pregnant in the last year and had a miscarriage or an ectopic pregnancy. That in itself can disqualify you from having children.
Well, let's meet Steph and Tom now, because you've been together for 6 years, you've been engaged for 3 years. Steph, you're 38, Tom, you're 40. And Steph, you knew you wanted to get, from the moment you met him, you were like, children is something I see in my future, and you were both on board with this from the get-go.
Absolutely,
but you had some fertility issues, didn't you? So just explain those.
So when I was 30, I had one of my fallopian tubes removed.
Right.
And then the second one was damaged, but they left it in sort of just in case.
Yeah.
So I knew then that it was going to be an issue. So as soon as I met Tom, I was just straight away like, if we're going to try and have children, then it's going to be a long process. It's going to be hard. And then I found out when I was in my mid-30s that I had polycystic ovary syndrome as well. So I produce a lot of eggs, but none of them reach maturity. So if I had one or the other, it would still be difficult to have children naturally anyway.
So you started to research
yes, I did,
IVF in your area?
Yeah.
And you're in Buckinghamshire?
Yeah, we're in Bucks, yeah.
OK, so so what did you find out?
The Bucks CCG have an age restriction of 34 or 35, and also they have a restriction if one or both of you have children from a previous relationship.
And so you have got children from
Yeah, 2 teenagers.
So essentially that means because you've got 2 teenagers, you can't be a mum.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Which seems hugely unfair.
Yeah, it is.
Unfair, yeah.
It's very unfair, yeah.
And so what you'd like to see is, OK, you understand that there have to be guidelines and there have to be rules, but make it a level playing field across the board.
It shouldn't. I've got a friend who had treatment in East London, similar situation to me, older, children with her other half already had children, and she was entitled to up to 3 rounds.
Wow.
And then we were out west and complete opposite situation.
So the thing, the options there are, I suppose, adoption would be an option, moving.
Yeah, but do you put your life on hold to try and have children? Do you, we both work out west.
You've got your children out west.
Tom's children out
You've
west.
been moving away from your kids.
Absolutely. You can't make that drastic change to have a baby. It's going to be the most expensive thing you'll ever have in your life. And to then ruin your kind of living situation prior to that.
And what about, I mean, I guess, I think you probably just answered this, but you could go private. I mean, it's sort of £5,000 is the average going rate for 1 round, which, as we all know, possibly won't be successful. So there's no
guarantees at all, no.
So this can get incredibly expensive.
It can do. I mean, there are other options out there, which Tom and I discovered with egg sharing, which is an alternative, which we actually did twice.
So this works by you donating some eggs to another...
You donate half your eggs to a couple that need a donor egg, and then you receive treatment for free.
And the thing is that, I mean, it was the cruelest twist.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic for a family.
Yeah.
What an amazing thing.
Yeah,
Two successful births with your eggs.
Yeah.
And so they got the family from you.
Yeah. And it didn't work for
And
us.
it didn't work
no,
for
Well,
we
it's very bittersweet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You got pregnant and then had to have it removed because it went ectopic.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
that was
Yeah,
really-
so that was
Heartbreaking.
very bittersweet.
So what are the chances, Larisa, of this? I mean, you wanted to speak out because you wanted to show the injustice of this and maybe help other people.
Absolutely. There are a lot of women out there that, you know, women are settling down later in life. To have this age cut off is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Is anybody listening?
I mean, I hope so. There are a lot of charities like IVF Babel, Fertility Network, Fertility Fairness, which have got together a petition of over 100,000 signatures that's supposed to go through to Parliament. It's been delayed because of Brexit. But I think the other thing that we're neglecting here isn't just the burden of the cost, it's the mental health burden as well and the effect it has on couples. Because studies have shown that the rate of depression is very similar to being diagnosed with a terminal illness like cancer. So about 90% of couples who aren't able to have children are clinically depressed, and up to 50% of those attempt to take their own life at one stage or another, actually feel suicidal. So this is a huge burden we're talking about that's spanning our whole nation, and something needs to be done about this. I can see even talking about it, it's incredibly emotional.
You've also said that actually fertility issues need to be considered more like a disease.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, exactly what we're talking about here is a disease process that's preventing you from being able to get pregnant. You know, your tubes are diseased, they're blocked. There's no other way to actually achieve pregnancy other than doing IVF. So why should that not be allowed on the NHS, much like we treat diabetes or heart disease or anything else?
Oh, there's no
there
tissues
just
in the
isn't an
box.
excuse for it.
You've got one. Oh, well done.
Well prepared.
So brave.
So, I mean, I want to end this by trying to say something positive, but really, the way the system is at the moment is just going against them.
Absolutely, because more and more of these clinical commissioning groups are just cutting the funding. And I understand the NHS needs to cut back on certain things, but at the moment it's completely unfair to leave patients who are struggling with, as you can see very visibly here, this incredible burden and not be doing anything about it. That is totally unethical. And if NICE has said and made these regulations that are clinically effective and cost effective, then there is no reason not to follow that.
Okay. Well, the NHS Buckinghamshire Clinical Commissioning Group operates challenging financial times, they say. We face increasing demand on our services. This is why we have the current policy, which IVF treatments are managed. While we have every sympathy with anyone who may not be eligible for referral for this treatment under this policy, this difficult decision was made with the good of the overall population of Buckinghamshire in mind.
May I just add that if anyone is affected by this, please write to your local MP and please sign the petitions which are going on, because it really hopefully will help to make a difference in the long run and put some pressure on the government to change this.
Thank you for talking about this today. It's an important one to talk about. Thank you.